The YouTube backend shows me the gender of people who watch.
The backend doesn't usually show you the gender, I find. I usually... But anyway. Anyway, carry on.
That's good stuff, man.
Carry on.
The YouTube backend will show me the analytics for our channel, and I can see... Johnny's gone. Johnny and Rhea are gone. Mm-hmm. I can see the gender split. Steady. Hello and welcome to another episode of Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show, and the end of Joe Ferguson's career, because the interview you're about to see at the end of this episode is career ruining, isn't it, Joe? How are you doing? Hi.
I think the career will survive, my dignity will not.
Coming up this week, it's a broad equipment chat with former Tour Pro and broadcaster now at Sky Sports Golf, Nick Dougherty.
Aside from the car crash that is what happens, it's nice to be able to shed some light on. I don't think people remember how good he was. Like as a junior, when I played, he was sort of he was a little bit older than me, and he was around in that era, and he was like the model. You go to England, like when I was on England squads and stuff. Nick does this, Nick does that. Be more Nick. He was just the embodiment of what you should be.
And wasn't he a bit of a project of Sir Nick Faldo as well? He was sort of in his junior series under his wing, under his tutorship.
So I think he was one of the first sort of names that came out of the Faldo Junior series, and I think Nick liked that he was called Nick and called him Little Nick.
Yeah.
And then took him places and helped him build his career and gave him a load of opportunities, and he was good.
Can I also say, one of the nicest men I've met in the industry, and we're lucky in this industry, the golf industry is full of very nice people. He's one of the standouts. I've been on a couple of trips to now alongside Adidas events, and he's just a nice man. And the fact he put up with you in the start of this interview, which we'll show at the end of the episode, and still spoke to us the following day at the golf, shows that he really is a nice bloke. I'd have called it a day.
Would you?
If I was around you for that long, yeah.
See, I think, thank you, Dan, that's really kind. I think it almost makes it worse, because I'd love to be his actual mate.
Yes.
But I've blown that, haven't I? It'd be way too weird now.
But it's also a good equipment chat. We talk about his career, some of the early equipment pieces he was in that you knew about, that he was shocked you knew about, as well as how he keeps up with the equipment stuff on the tour when he's covering the golf. I'm sure he's listening to the podcast. That'll help him keep up.
Right, Nick.
It's going to get weird again, Joe, if you're not careful.
No, I'm going to act cool about it. I've just been too weird about it.
We've also got an Ask the Pod and a cool board coming up in this episode, so plenty of equipment chat to get our teeth stuck into. Ready? Go.
On.
You want to do a bit of... you're a history lesson here, don't you?
We're talking Tiger.
We're talking Tiger, and obviously, we've alluded to it over the last couple of weeks and months. The ball rolling back. We spoke about it last week with Bryson. What do we do with the drive ahead when we reviewed the R7 quad a month or so ago? Yep. And that is coming in 2028. We are going to get a ball roll back, and there's going to be a lot of discussion coming for that. But you want to take us back to the catalyst for distance itself, which was Tiger Woods and the golf ball of the late 90s?
I think that's sort of fair, and a little bit later than that. So basically, in the late 90s, 1999 and early 2000, Tiger was playing the Titleist professional ball, which was kind of the ball that came after the Tour Balata that you may have heard of. But it was still very much the same sort of construction. And by that, I mean it was a liquid centre ball with wound next layer, if you like. So we've spoken about
What do you mean by liquid?
Liquid.
Frozen liquid.
I'm going to get into that. No. Running liquid.
Stop it.
Promise.
This is huge.
Liquid centre balls. I knew this would get you. Liquid centre, and then essentially had just rubber bands wrapped around it.
How do you wrap rubber bands around liquid?
I don't know what the manufacturing process... Well, I guess the liquid was encased in something as well. And then it's a good point.
It wasn't just loose liquid.
This is a tough start to a techie explanation, isn't it? But I don't profess to know the manufacturing
I've broken you down
capabilities
already.
Here. But there was a liquid core. So something... It was encased by something, but there's a liquid core, which I'll get into just a bit more. Lots of high tension bands wrapped around the core to create, I guess, the springiness and the compression you needed. And then you would get a compression cover of what was Balata. And Balata, you hear this a lot, and like a lot of the older people listening who like their historical gear, we'll probably all remember Balata balls. So it's like when I was growing up, if you had a Balata, it was a big thing. So basically there was almost like 2 tiers prices of balls. So you get these hard rock distance balls, which everyone thought for choppers, these sort of 2-piece firm bricks. And then the pros and the better players all used Balata, but they were so much more expensive. Like not just a couple of quid here, they were a lot more expensive. And they lasted about a third of the time because the Balata, if you thinned a pitch slightly, it wasn't like, oh, got a little scuff on that. It was unplayable. Like,
Really?
Yeah, you could go through to the to the rubber bands at times if you thinned it enough, and it would disform so much because you thinned it. It would fly wonky. You could see it wobbling.
Gosh, I'd be going through a dozen around.
Yeah, correct.
That's ridiculous.
Sometimes, yeah. So it was a real. Yeah, I miss Balata, but then I was starting to think like, what is Balata? I've never even really looked into what this is. So, Dan, Balata is a rubber-like material derived from the dried latex of the Manicara bidentata tree, also known as the bully tree or beefwood. It is harvested by tapping the tree and collecting the latex, which is then coagulated and dried to form a durable substance.
Wow.
So they're carving this off trees, zigzag carving this stuff off trees, coagulating it, whatever the hell coagulating is, and drying it to form the covers of golf balls. So we're just like carving trees.
From the beefwood tree.
From the beefwood tree or the bully tree, or its more scientific name, the Manicara bidentata tree.
Well, thank you, Mr. Attenborough. That's wonderful,
You're
wonderful
more than welcome.
work.
So that was just a little bit for me. I was just always, Balata. Yeah, I used to play Balata. Yeah, Balata balls. And I was like, all of a sudden I just thought, what is a Balata?
You know when a word just becomes used?
Yeah.
It's in the lexicon and you're like, I've never questioned what that actually means or is. That's good stuff.
But there you are.
Is that why they were so soft then? Because it's a natural, very natural material.
It was, yeah, just because it was a natural substance.
No wonder it's so expensive to go and get that.
Carving your tightless tall Balata out. So there you go, kick pointers. That's what Balata is. If any of you are on the dating scene at the moment and you need some icebreakers, there you go. And I got another one for you.
Do you know where Balata came from? That's a really good one. That's a really good start.
Got another one for you.
Okay.
Liquid centres, just mentioned.
Right, I'm fascinated by this.
Baffling.
Can I drink it?
So what is the liquid centre of the golf ball? And I would argue you don't want to drink this based on what I'm hearing here. It wasn't Sprite. However, so it's shrouded in mystery. So I did a lot of research into this, and a lot of people are saying, oh, some was this, some was that, some was so-and-so. Like there's all sorts of different opinions, and there's some were saying, we don't talk about what was in there.
Oh, God.
So here's the best I can get to. Early liquid centre golf balls contained a caustic liquid, often an alkali, which could cause injuries, particularly eye injuries if dissected. By the 1920s, so if you cut it open and got some in your eye, you were done for. Yeah. Manufacturers stopped using caustic liquids, but some balls continue to have liquid cores that could explode when dissected. So if you chopped into one, they would go off. And I saw someone on Reddit. I saw someone on a forum saying, we once burnt a Balata ball and it was like a bomb going off.
Oh my God.
So fortunately no one was around it. They just burnt it and thought it'd be funny to melt it. And then it's just kaboomed and gone off. So these were like...
This is crazy.
When they're talking about explosive distance, Dan, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the quest for the perfect core material led to experiments with various substances, including oil, saline solutions, like what you clean your contact lenses with.
Yeah.
Glycerine, honey.
Honey.
And even mercury and radium.
Wow. Imagine that in your golf ball. They tried all this.
Yeah. Allegedly so. No wonder some of them were exploding. Also been mooted. Manufacturers used a bacteria or yeast-based mixture and a measured amount of nutrient fluid to create pressurized liquid cores. So basically, this technique allowed the bacteria to grow and generate gas, pressurizing the ball to a desired level for flight.
That is fascinating.
So you're basically creating a little petri dish inside the ball, letting the bacteria grow to create a certain amount of gas
But I wonder how long the shelf life for that would have been.
Good point.
How do you know when there's the right amount of gas? How is there too much?
Maybe they should have had best befores.
What are the sort of consequences of having live bacteria in a golf ball? Is that ethically sound? Those poor bacteria don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. So yeah, when I was mooching around trying to find this stuff out, I thought that was fascinating. So there's still no sort of definitive answer, and maybe there isn't a definitive answer because people were just shoving whatever they could find
Sounds
in
like
there.
it.
And doing all sorts of nonsense. But the fact that they were exploding at times is surely a concern.
The fact there was liquid in there is mind blowing to me.
Yeah, even just whatever liquid it was. But certainly the mercury and radium for me, bit of a red flag. Probably wouldn't play that ball. But anyway, back to Tiger. Yes.
So yes, of course.
So he was playing that style of ball, and who knows what was in
Brainiac science abuse.
Who knows what was in the Titleist Professional? Maybe we could find out. No, we don't want to dissect one, do we? Because that could hurt our eyes.
Oh, you could put goggles on.
Good point. But anyway, so Tiger Woods. It seems like the basic overview of the story is that he was playing this liquid centre wound ball that everyone else was playing because that was what good players did. Loads of spin. And that was the good player ball. But Marco Mira, his good friend, who he lived next to at Isleworth in Florida. Do you know Marco? Do you know Marco Mira?
Marco.
Please tell me you know.
I do. I'm taking the mick.
Good.
Because his first name could be Marco.
Excellent.
Did you get what I was getting
at? What a fantastic gag that is.
Move on.
Mark O'Meara in 1998 won the Masters and the Open in the same year, using the Strata Tour ball from Top Flight.
Wow.
And the Strata Tour ball was essentially a two-piece, some people say two, some people say three, but basically a solid core ball with a cover.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, everyone said they were for choppers. They were just bad players' balls. They were distance balls. You won't get the same feel and workability that you get from a Balata. It's the same sort of nonsense you hear about, if it's not forged in Japan, I can't use it. It doesn't feel the same. All that kind of utter guff. Same with persimmon, where people were saying, you can't use metal for a wood. It's called a wood, and you're not going to get the workability of the naturals, of the persimmon. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts saying at 30. Yeah, that was a good idea.
Well, quite like the metal.
I'll probably go with the metals now. But people in golf are so resistant because it's almost like that gatekeeping thing that you say. People are so protective of their own beliefs and ideas in golf, and the fact that someone can just come up with a better idea, which has happened every step of the way throughout history, and people still go, no, it can't be. We've got it right now.
Say it.
Lab. Well, I was getting on to that. Zero talk. I think that'll be the thing. None of these ideas will work until they do. And we'll have this conversation, God willing,
if we're still here.
In 20 years' time.
I don't want to be doing this podcast in 20 years. I'm sorry.
I do. I love it.
You'll be what, 84?
Yeah, very good.
Great banter.
Anyway, in 1999, so Tiger was a Nike guy in terms of apparel and stuff, wasn't he? And clubs, in fact. They developed 4 balls in joint development and a joint sort of development agreement with Bridgestone. And Nike was going with an injection mold solid core. And in early 2000, they had a couple of test sessions with Tiger Woods in Orlando where they left him, I think, something like 2 or 3 dozen of 6 different models of this ball to have a little play around with. And they thought, well, that'll be it. We'll pick this up again in October, November, because he's about to go and play. It's major season coming, Masters, so he's not going to do anything until then. But, you can have a little play around with him. Anyway, so he shot 63 in the final round at the Byron Nelson tournament that year. Missed out by a shot to the most 90s, or 2000 rather, leaderboard 3 at the top of the leaderboard you can ever imagine. Jesper Parnevik, Phil Mickelson, and Davis Love III.
Yeah.
I think it was. And so came up just a shot short of the playoff. Then the Nike ball guy at the time, Kel Devlin, dropped him a text to say, well done, speak to you when you get back from Germany, because you have to go and play the Deutsche Bank Championship in Germany, because he was a global player and he was trying to spread his wings and blah, blah, blah. And Tiger called him 15 minutes later and said, this information, by the way, is from a PJ Tour YouTube video, which is really interesting. I would highly recommend you going and watching it. But my explanation is much better. So
yeah.
So stick around.
Don't watch it. Don't hear it from the horse's mouth. Listen to Joe Ferguson talk about it.
Get it secondhand.
That's what we're here for.
And he called him 15 minutes later and said, look, I'd have won by 5 if I'd have had my ball this week. And he's like, what do you mean your ball? He's like, I've been testing the stuff you've left me and it's just better. So he said, I want you to come to Germany, bring me a load of balls because I'm going to put it in play. And they were like, what? This is like 2 or 3 weeks till the Masters.
Yeah.
Like this is a big, bold play. Anyway, so he was seeing at least 2 to 3 miles per hour more ball speed throughout his bag, which is massive when you're already a very long hitter. A ton more stability in the wind because there's less. The Balata ball had, I mean, some of the movement you'd get in crosswinds was just.
Is it like, do you know those footballs you had when you were a kid? The air
Jabulani.
balls?
Do you remember the
Jabulani for the 2010 World Cup? Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be doing that, and then it would just go. Whoop.
All the air balls. It wasn't quite that extreme, but they were seriously moved. There was so much less stability, and he was getting less spin in the long game, helping that performance in the wind, but still maintaining spin around the green. So everything, this was like just win-win everywhere. And more pertinently, more consistency in numbers. So again, when you think about the manufacturing process of growing a mushroom in the middle of a ball to pressure on, whatever they were doing with the bacteria and things like that.
Oh, imagine the pieces we'd have to write now.
Oh, can you imagine?
If they were actually, if TaylorMade were doing that, imagine the piece. Imagine
TaylorMade shiitake. Or something like that.
Oh, imagine the explaining we'd have to be doing to people.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
So when you're doing that kind of thing, you're not sure what liquid's going to be in the middle, how much liquid's in there, is this full, are the bands at the right tension? There was a lot more variance in performance than just here's a solid core that we make, repeat,
it's going to be the same every time.
Anyway, so that, it's so much easier to manufacture consistently. Anyway, put it into play in Germany, finished joint third, also with some very funny names from around the time, Ian Woosnam and John van der Velde.
Ah, good.
That made me laugh a little bit. And then he kept it in play the next week because he started to really like what he was seeing. And he won by about 4 million at Memorial. Absolutely blew the field away. Then, sort of in that tournament, he caused a bit of fuss around the time because he was Titleist was still paying him to play the golf ball. I think there was some issues around. Do you remember the advert he did with the keepy uppies and then he hit it on the volley? He used a Nike ball in that video rather than a Titleist, which Titleist hated.
Oh my gosh!
We're paying you to use our ball, and this. Anyway, so there was some issues around that apparently, but. He said he did an interview, which I saw on this the YouTube video, halfway through the tournament with David Fairty saying, well, I'm using a new ball. Titleist have been very kind to let me experiment with a Nike. Imagine that today. That'd be so weird. They've been really great and they're letting me experiment with a new ball and I'm liking the performance, etc. Anyway, went on to win 3 majors that year, 9 tournaments, and he was 3 strokes better per round than the average tour player.
Wow.
His strokes gained per round was 3, or stroke average, 3 better than the average player. So that's pretty astonishing levels of dominance. And that kind of switches pretty out of character for Tiger, really, because he's like quite traditional in a lot of his views. Still an old blade putter. He was one of the later players to move out of steel shafted drivers. He was one of the very, very last players to go into graphite. And that would be something to do with how quick he was at the time, and the graphite wasn't quite as good as it is now in terms of manufacturing processes. There's been some logic behind that, but he also felt quite stubbornly leaning towards older equipment, traditional lofts, bladed irons. He was in his Titleist PT3 wood, which was about the size of your bottle top for ages. So for him to go ahead of everyone else and go, I'm moving this on, was actually quite an out of character thing for him to do, which I thought was
and how quickly did everybody follow suit? As in other ball manufacturers.
So basically, he was pounding everyone. And it was like a joke. Steve Williams, his caddy, reckons it was 1 to 2 shots per round, the ball.
The ball on its own, yeah.
The ball on its own, he reckoned made a 1 to 2 shot per round difference. And when he was already beating people, like he was already the best player, and then you give the best player a ball that gives you a 1 to 2 shot round advantage, that's when you start seeing things that we saw. Pebble Beach won by 14. The Open won by 12, I think it was, wasn't it, at St Andrews? So all of a sudden, you're the best player and you're going to win the tournament possibly. It's going to, you've got a good chance of winning. To winning by, 12 shots is what? What's that divided by 4? 3 shots around. So, all of a sudden,
really interesting.
That's quite a huge contributor. And then later that year, in late 2000, what did Titleist do? Pro V1. So. Yeah, it basically, that was the point at which the golf ball game completely changed. Just at the turn of, the year 2000, there had been a bit knocking about, like I said, like Mark O'Meara with Strata Tour, and there were a few other early experiments, but nobody quite got it right. I mean, Steve Williams also talks about when he caddied for Greg Norman and he switched to a 2-piece ball and it ruined his game completely. But that was significantly earlier than Tiger, before things had come on. And then all of a sudden, we get the Pro V1, and the distance numbers on the tour just, in the click of a finger, just changed completely overnight. And I just don't think we've ever seen before. I guess the only other comparable that I can think of was when when we spoke about Gene Sarazen inventing the sand wedge and just brought it over to the open, and all of a sudden he was just hitting floppers out of the bunkers where people couldn't get it out and things like that. So sometimes you get these equipment anomalies that all of a sudden, before authorities catch on or the rest of the players catch on, as the grumble for you, or the rest of the players catch on, can give you a significant advantage. And that's why when you hear about these players tweaking with their equipment, trying this, trying that, it's not a fruitless exercise. And people going, oh, they're blaming the equipment, they should just be working on their game. And there are these times in history where someone's just gone, well, that's daft, I'm going to do this. And it's paid huge dividends.
It's such a drastic move. Really interesting to look at that bit of history from an equipment angle, because we all look at that part of history and Tiger's dominance from him as a player and his swing and his characteristics angle.
That's not taking away any of that.
No, but it's adding layers to that story, isn't it? So good job, Joe. I enjoyed that. Imagine giving Scotty now, let's say something got invented today and it did the same effect. I wonder what it would be, what it could look like. But especially now the rules are getting tighter and more constrictive, what you've just described can and probably never will happen again. I.e., one piece of technology changes so drastically that it gives a 1 to 2 shot advantage per round.
But then, do you remember that argument we had the other week? And it was quite an argument where you were calling me Stalin and saying I wanted everything to be uniform and everyone has to be the same. And blah,
you
blah,
want
blah.
the government-sanctioned driver.
I don't, but think of those examples where, like, you've got this guy who's popping out with this ball that's just so much better than everyone else's and has a historical year on the back of it. Think about Bernard Langer and what the long putter's done for him. He couldn't barely take the putter back at a normal length. That equipment has completely changed his game. That saved Lucas Glover's career as well. Whatever. There's probably several other examples. All of a sudden, you take those. Well, it happened to Keegan Bradley as well. I mean, he was a big belly putter guy, anchored it in his belly, and then they banned that, and then he was off the planet for like 3-4 years. It nearly ruined his career. All of a sudden, if everyone has to play with a putter that's a maximum length of whatever, here's the tournament ball, here's the tournament drivers. I'm not saying this will ever happen and necessarily should. What's that called? Bifurcation? What's it called? What's it called?
I'm going to let you struggle.
Bifurcation.
One more time.
Bifurcation. Bifurcation. When everyone has to use the same thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. If that happens.
No. Bifurcation is where tour players play something different to amateur players.
Play.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's mine called? Just communism.
No. Yours is called standardization, total complete standardization.
So if we had right guys, you turn up at the tournament
and you get given a bag.
That's your stuff. We'd find out who the most skillful player is.
Great.
Would we not? And if you took the butlers away that were reading the greens for them.
Right, I'm going to pause you there. Very good insight though, Joe, before you take me down on a tangent.
Johnny.
Just my opinion.
Just my opinion.
Oh, I'm Joe Ferguson. It's just my opinion. You happy with yourself?
Yes.
You ruined a nice segment there.
Did I?
Yeah.
Do you not think you'd find out
who cares?
Yeah, okay. In Formula One, if they stopped having, we can't win this year, their car's just better. Well, that's boring. Yeah, let's all drive the same car and see who the best driver is.
Yeah. Fine, we'll get it your way.
Yeah. You all right?
I've lost my train of thought ever so slightly because it's your
mind's been blown by how right I am.
You've done me. Yeah. When I'm wrong, I just go silent.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. The rollback makes me sad. I don't like seeing.
I agree.
I don't like seeing constrictive. I don't like constrictiveness because sport's about chasing greatness. And I know there are rules on trampoline faces and there are rules in at the minute. This feels like a really big one. And it's going to be interesting to track and follow regardless.
Trouble is, when you're changing and making up rules as you go along, which is what golf does, it's what football have done. Like football gets over here in the UK, or soccer, to our American friends.
Don't do that again.
Okay. It can get less enjoyable to watch because I couldn't really tell you what the handball rule is now, what penalties are being given for, because that changes season to season. Couldn't tell you how long the goalkeeper's allowed to hold on to the ball for before having to kick it, because again, that changes every season. Like all these different interpretations, and they're so reactive, I don't think are great. And I think the governing bodies get themselves into pickles because they've introduced this, so they can't do that, and there's a precedent here and there's a precedent there, and it's just like, I don't know how you undo this stuff, but it just gets
It's been done now. It's been said. Yeah. So however that happens is interesting, but a fantastic look back at history, Joe.
Thank
and
you.
there was science there. There was history there. I feel like I'm back at school.
Bit of everything, wasn't
We'll
it?
do maths and then
storytelling.
Yeah, good. We'll go do PE later.
Okay, yes.
But it's time for our favourite part of the show, Johnny on the ones and twos. It is Ask the Pod. I like this bit. Ask the Pod.
Ask the pod. Ask the pod.
Ask the Pod. Still going. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, sir. Right, some correspondence before I get into the question this week, Joe.
Okay.
We had a question come in a few minutes ago, so I'm going to give you a live one now, if that's
wow.
okay for a
Thanks
start. Yeah, so good luck with that. I've checked it. It's okay.
Okay.
As in, it's not rude or anything. But we get loads of lovely comments on YouTube and emails in a minute. Aren't questions, but comments I want to read out anyway.
Because they just fluff your ego.
Because they fluff our ego.
Our ego.
It's mostly about you.
Right.
People like you. You are valued. And you are loved. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
I won't.
Don't.
I won't.
Good. Firstly,
especially you.
I think we met our number one fan at our Golf Monthly testing day a few months ago now, Emma Booth.
Yeah.
Emma, who will be listening now, has worked for Golf Monthly on a freelance basis for a while now, reviewed some equipment for her. She's a teaching pro, and I will plug Winchester Golf Academy. If you're down in that neck of the woods in the UK, there's a driving range to go to.
Yeah.
But I've met her a couple of times these days, but never played golf with her. And she said on the first hole as we were playing, we played a lovely game of golf. Number one fan, I think. She loves it. That's why I wanted to say hello to Emma today.
And then I came, because I wasn't playing because I had a back injury, didn't I? And then I was wandering around.
You flew up on your buggy.
Flew up on the buggy. Then all of a sudden she's paired up with the host of her favourite podcast.
She's getting starstruck.
And then the real star turns up just out the blue on the buggy. Must have been a moment for her, right?
Clouds parted.
Can you imagine?
Joe Ferguson's arrived to her favourite podcast. So hello, Emma, is what I wanted to say. And it did not remind me, but I've noticed our YouTube algorithm, not the algorithm, the back end shows me the gender. The YouTube back end shows me the gender of people who watch.
The back end doesn't usually show you the gender icon. I usually... But anyway. Anyway, carry on.
That's good stuff, man.
Carry on.
The YouTube back end will show me the analytics for our channel, and I can see... Johnny's gone. Johnny and Rhea are gone. Mm-hmm. I can see the gender split. Steady. I can see who's male.
You're definitely
female. The point I'm making is less than 1% of our viewers are female. However, we've got Emma, our number one fan. And
remember Wendy?
We've had Wendy.
Wendy was great.
And there was just another nice comments. One from Cindy Wotton 480.
That's a cool name.
Love the long format. Love the cool board. You're doing a superb job. I think she means superb. Thank you, Cindy.
That makes sense. Thank you, Cindy.
Angela, who's commented on a couple...
Is this Ladies' Corner?
This is our Ladies' Corner. This isn't patronising. I just want to show that we have female listeners and that they are valued.
Yeah.
And they are... What have you called our listeners recently?
The kick pointers.
You are a kick pointer. Angela Richards 3588.
Yeah.
So they're 3,587 ahead of her.
But
she got it in the end. I love this comment. I have only a finite time to view my favourite golf videos. I have to snatch half an hour at a time. I love Finchie's videos, but he's starting to go too long. And 3 channels, ? That's not us, Pete. I don't mind. Love watching Joe, especially your playing videos. Love the channel for the banter and info. Well done. Thank you, Angela, for choosing us out of all of the golf YouTube channels there are out there.
Angela, that's really kind. That is genuinely nice to hear, actually, because we are terribly self-conscious creatures.
Oh God, yeah. It's nice. Really I like being told I'm a good boy.
You do. We've discussed this recently.
Very, very important to me to get sort of told that.
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. So are you. A couple of other ones. I can't remember in what context this came in on YouTube, but it really made me giggle. SkyMac 8. I used to hit wiffle balls over my 2-story house with a ping lob wedge in the early 90s into a wash basket. Neighbours gave me funny looks. Take that, Bryson.
Yeah, he's the original What's it, early 90s?
Early 90s.
Imagine if you'd have camcorded that and could prove it now.
What's a wiffle ball? Is that like an air ball?
I think he's talking about the air balls with the holes in.
Little plastic things.
Yeah.
Superb. And Kev Moore, 2148. The Tiger impersonation sounded like Tiger doing a Sean Connery impression.
Kev, I've never met Kev. Kev's a prolific commenter.
Yeah, we like Kev.
On ours and Dan's channel, Dan Hendricks in Golf. He loves it. He's a big supporter of that channel. So, yeah, nice to see him crossing over as a pointer. He's a pointer.
He's a pointee. You've been appointed a pointer.
Yeah.
And your Tiger impression was quite funny.
Can't remember what it was.
It was like really
tough.
Really tough.
It's really tough out there. Yeah, that was it.
There's Sean Connery's back again. Well done. So thank you for your comments. Do leave them. We read them all, as you can tell. And we'll start reading some more of those out. As well as the question. Now, the live question that we got in while we were just filming there isn't on my iPad yet, Joe, is it? So
excellent. So we'll just watch Dan scroll for a little bit, shall we?
Dan from Litherman St Anne's has been in.
So hang on, this came in as we've been recording.
Came in about an hour ago now.
Okay. Cool.
So, hi Joe and Dan, long time listener, first time emailer, classic opening line of these sort of things. Please help. From Dan. Please help. I'm thinking about putting lead tape on the toe of my irons and woods as I struggle with most shots starting left and going further left. GC Quad has my swing path relatively neutral but face closed path to target. I think this would slow the toe down and present a more neutral face angle. Should I try this? How much lead tape should I put on? What could be the downside? Let me the pod. I'm hoping that says love the pod and keep up the good work. Dan from Litherman St Anne's. Can you help Dan out, please, Joe?
Let me the pod.
Let me the pod.
In truth, he should try it. So
great.
From what he's describing from a dynamics point of view, if his path's pretty neutral and his club face is shut to that path, he's going to see exactly what he's seeing. The ball will start left because the club face is closed, and it will curve further left because it's closed relative to the path as well. So GC Quad or whatever he's using there is not lying to him. That's what's going on. He's obviously seeing it with his own eyes. So realistically, if he puts it, he's kind of got it nailed on here. If he does that, that's what's going to happen. He's going to move the CG further out towards the toe. The toe, in theory, in terms of a rate of rotation, should slow down a little bit more because there's more mass there, and he might mitigate that club face a little bit more. In terms of how much you should put on, it's how long's a piece of string. Start light, start putting a bit. If you see a difference and it gets you to where you want to be, stay there. Obviously, if it's not having the effect, keep going. Like, push it. Even if it's super, super heavy, just keep adding it until you feel you're getting what you want to see. Now, the second part of the question was downsides, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Crikey, what on earth just happened?
That scared the effing daylights out of me.
Fallen against the wall of the podcast studio.
Just cut that. I can't have that in. I've jumped out my chair.
No, leave that. That was funny. I want to see that on YouTube. So we're leaving that in. So if the lead tape doesn't work,
I can cut it out after.
Other things. No, because I can intercept that as well. So that's staying in. So if the lead tape doesn't work, there are a few other things that are worth having a look at.
Sorry. What was the downside?
Oh, right.
Yeah, you're off on a
tangent.
tangent.
Skip that.
Yes.
You always tell me off when I touch you. You just touched me.
Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with it. Yeah, I'm a normal human. So the downsides could be negative effects on, obviously, weights. So as soon as you add weight down that head end, the swing weight's going to go up. If you're in a good spot with your swing weight already and you're finding strike and timing well and you start adding lead tape, you might find club head isn't catching up and you're going to struggle to find strike if you push it too far. So there's potential implications there. Similarly, with total weight, obviously you're adding some mass to this golf club. You happen to be adding it down at the head end, so the swing weight as byproduct is going to go up, but just the raw mass of the club is going to go up. So it's going to feel slightly harder work than it was, but you never know. You might have been in a swing weight that wasn't quite in your sweet spot and it was a bit light, and this might solve everything. It might get your swing weight into a great spot, slow that toe down, and you start absolutely gunning it. So that would be the only real downside. You're not going to...
And you can take lead tape off.
It's perfectly reversible.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not like a drive, you're hot melting and you're never going to get that hot melt out. So this is a real option to just fiddle around and try it. But yeah, there's also a couple of other things that if that doesn't work and that isn't the main issue, it could just be a lie angle issue. If your lie angle's too upright for you, so the toe essentially is too high off the ground, the loft of that club face is going to be pointing left. Dan's laughing.
I'm just thinking about, I'm still scared by the noise.
I think it was a one-off. So the loft of the club will be pointing further left. And I'd be interested to know if your left miss is more prevalent with your shorter irons, the more loft you get, because that would be a good indication that it could be to do with lie angle. The more loft you get, if that loft isn't correctly sold out on the ground, the more left you're going to see in some of those shorter irons. So I'd be interested to see where that left spread sits in your game. So that would be quite interesting to find out. And then if it's not the lead tape, if it's not the lie angle, there's every chance a shaft might be worth having a little think about.
Yeah.
So if you keep going left, you could look at something potentially that's either heavier or just a bit stiffer in the tip, and it's not going to have quite as much kick down the bottom end to neutralize the club path. So all of these things are worth trying, but I think you're in a good spot there with the order you're going to tackle it. So tackle it with lead tape first, see if that makes a difference. Don't do all those things at once because you won't know what's made the difference. So do get the lead tape on there, might solve all your problems. Great. If it doesn't, then maybe go to a fit, or maybe just do a test that I've shown you or mentioned before, where you just get the vertical line, a Sharpie line on the back of your ball, and just get an idea of where your dynamic lie angle sits. And if that shows up some discrepancies, go to a club builder and get them bent a little bit flatter to influence your start direction a little bit further right. If that's maybe not the problem, they're already soling out well, start going down the shaft route and thinking what we can do there. And if none of that works, pickleball is a really good upcoming sport, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit of paddle as well.
Paddle.
Something
but no,
like that.
then
It's
in all
good.
seriousness, if that isn't it, then quite frankly, if you're in good fitting clubs and they're doing what they're supposed to do.
With the
it could
neutral
just be a
face angle.
technical-
But if it's a neutral face angle, you should be able to find a solution at some point with what you just
Absolutely,
suggested. Yeah. Good consumer advice, Joe. And thank you, Dan. I think you're on the right lines there. And Lytham St Anne's is a lovely part of the world.
Isn't it just?
It really is. Right, let's do the cool board, please. We've got 3 more topics to look at today, Joe. Are you ready?
I have no idea what
I've come
these
up.
are.
I'm also going to have surprised you.
Thank you, Ria.
I've changed them ever so slightly. Thank you, Ria. Bring that onto set. So the cool wall, if you're here for the first time, is not a wall. Famously, it's a board. That's poor from me.
Yep.
Leave that there, Ria. We're leaving that one out now. Yeah, don't want to bring that one back in. And me and
no.
yes, and we talk about golf equipment, bits of golf tech, things like aim point, and we decide, because we are the judge, jury, and executioner, whether they're ice cold, cool, meh, uncool, or heinous. If we get a bit stuck on an answer, we imagine, Joe, if we're rocking up next to Miguel Angel Jimenez.
And if he would say, no, or si.
About your bit of tech, then it would be cool, because we've also decided he's the coolest golfer. Despite Dean Dixon saying last week, or 2 weeks ago, it's
and
Adam
Fred
Scott.
Couples are cooler,
Yeah.
which is all about opinions. And if you've got those opinions, cool, get your own podcast.
But
this is ours. So we've decided it's Miguel Angel Jimenez.
But if you do disagree with anything we put up so far, anything we're going to do today, you can email kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com, comment on YouTube, comment on Spotify, go to Joe's,
Just looking at the pictures in Dan's hands.
go to Joe's home address,
Yep.
listed down in the description, and let us know. And if we get more than 10 on one specific thing, which we haven't got yet, we'll put it up to a poll.
We're getting closer. There's been a few.
We're trying.
Yeah.
Trying. But I think we're just so on the ball that no one's going to disagree with us.
Good point.
Right, this week, and I have randomised these, I'm sorry.
It's cool. I honestly don't. Maybe I've missed this bit of the planning doc, but I don't know what these are.
Good.
Which is fine.
Poker chip ball markers.
Okay.
No, this one's massive. Ironically, I've made this massive, and that gets to the point of this. Firstly, why would you ever need a ball marker? Not, this isn't to size, but of poker chip size. We've all played with someone who's got a poker chip marker.
Yeah. Right.
What's the message?
This, to me, the first poker chip ball markers I saw were, I don't know, 2010-ish, 11, 12, that kind of era. It's not a long-standing phenomenon.
Right, okay,
I guess
interesting.
some people maybe used actual poker chips before then
Maybe that was
as a statement. I don't
Don't
know.
understand.
But it's like this cool crossover, like Vegas and gambling, and
Okay.
let's do this thing and we'll have a poker chip. And that's like, I quite liked it. It's a bit of a novelty thing. Why not? The size makes it easy to find in your pocket. When you're scrambling around amongst tees and pitchforks,
Okay,
rather.
I see that. I see that.
Makes it easy to find in your pocket. also, there's different. I just left a bit of silence there for my tummy because I thought it was going to go. There's also, you know, when you get to a high-end resort, they do kind of that sort of size, big metal disc versions that are heavy and weighty, feel quite.
I've had a couple of them.
premium.
They're quite nice.
Yeah, but again, is the size a little bit excessive? Because you're gonna end up creating work for yourself because you've got something that big. People are going to ask you to move it, aren't they?
I get told that all the time.
If you're using a penny,
that's for you, Johnny,
or something like that, or the little plastic ones with the nub in on the end, which I get told all the time. If you just push them in, people just put over them, no bother at all. You chuck one of those in the way, you got some issues.
You're going to spend your whole day moving it off people's lines,
I'm skirting around whether they're cool or not, because I don't know that I've got an opinion, so let me hear your case.
Well, so the one I printed out here is one of those ones that has a smaller marker within it, which really annoy me, because just get the smaller marker.
Sure.
Because you're then not actually putting the poker chip down. However, you just I hadn't thought of the point you've made. What this kind of contraption allows you to do is have it so you can feel it in your pocket.
Yeah.
If you're miles away from anybody, just whack it down big.
But again, stay on task.
Sorry,
the functionality is there. There is a reason
They're
for
deeply
it. There's a reason for all of these things.
Okay, fine. I'll say it. They're deeply uncool.
You think?
Yeah, they're like, who do you think you are with your big poker chip marker? Do what the rest of us do. Get a tiny little coin.
Grab around for your change.
And try and stay out of my way.
I haven't seen a...
They're not used on tour either.
No, I don't see a lot of tour presence of the poker chip.
You start doing Whitbees with people's ball markers as well. What Whitby you in? What ball marker you in this week?
More specific, what's in the tea bag. So
yeah.
But then I think Mickelson has a big, hefty silver dollar that's something to do with his grandfather. Tiger, I believe. There's a story about Tiger that used the same quarter for, I think, something like 12 of his majors. And he was using it at the Zozo, and they had like a rugby section of the Zozo where Mike Tyndall, O'Driscoll from Ireland, and someone else like played through, and Tyndall just picked up Tiger's marker and wandered off with it, thought this will be a good souvenir, and then was contacted later by the agent to say, look, he's going to need that back.
My gosh.
He's won 14 majors with that or something like that.
Sugar. God, Tins.
Okay, sure. So that was quite funny. But going off topic,
but closer to uncool.
I think uncool.
Okay, let's go low on uncool then, because I think so as well. Broadly, I've not got myself that up about.
Isn't it higher on uncool? Because then it would be nearly meh. Because we work in a snake system.
The lower down it is, the more likely it is to move. I've forgotten my own rules, Joe.
Yeah.
Just put it in the middle.
I seem to think like Hovland there with his aim point is low meh because he could be nearly uncool.
Oh, so it's high uncool.
So if you were high uncool, it'd be nearly in meh.
High uncool then.
High
uncool. We got there in the end.
Yeah.
Now this one's a real surprise for you, and I'd love to know what you think about this. Okay. And I did this last night.
It's going to be something personal to me.
Well, it feels like something personal to the nerds of the world, the real gear nerds of the world, and it's custom ferrules.
Oh, okay.
Tell people what they are, how they even get them, because I didn't know these were a thing until we met Patrick Reed.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then we'll chat about whether they're cool or not.
So I'm sure most of you know, and if you don't, the ferrule is the small plastic cylindrical piece that kind of softens the transition from the shaft to the club head.
Does it have an actual physical, a technical? Is it just for aesthetics?
Pure aesthetics.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And you can get various lengths. You get much shorter ones, longer ones, patterned ones that Dan's talking about here. The ones he's got a picture of are from BB&F Co., which is just a company that makes
you even recognised where they were from?
Yeah, a multitude of different patterns, different colours, different stripes. And it just allows you, if you're someone who's likes sort of club building and the techie side and tweaking and things like that, it gives you the option to just put a little bit of character and a bit of personalisation in the club. For me, as a guy who likes tinkering and fiddling about these clubs, do you know what? Weirdly, I've never been into them in terms of for my clubs. But I think that's just, now I'm a vibesman though. This is big down my vibesman street. So I've always been, I'm a player.
So I keep it stock. Yeah.
That's what they do on the tour van. Correct. So that's what I do, pathetically.
Now you're a vibesman.
Now I'm a vibesman. I'm going to be wearing visors, using my castle tees, using my Sunday bag, wearing my pleated trousers, and I'm just playing for fun with a half set.
Whack a few of them.
I could see me getting some of my Mizuno half sets, BB&F Co in them in different coloured ferrules. For me, I don't know where you sit on this, I'm going ice cold. If I turn up and I've got some guy and he's got some custom BB&F Co ferrules, I think he's He's really into it, and he's got some.
And he's really into it, and we're into people being into it. So I think I'm on board with it.
Yeah,
I think so. Part of me was like, "Oh, you're having yourself." Said it like, "Come on, you're spending time customizing your ferrules."
But what you're doing,
then that's the beauty of what we talk about.
But what you're doing there, those are about £40 a set or something like that. Which you might think is expensive for a piece of plastic, but some people are having themselves by going, oh, I've got the latest driver, oh, I've got this, I've got that. Someone's gone into the real nitty gritty here, the details, and no one's going to, and which is why Patrick Reed was so taken aback when I went, oh, look, I see you've got a BB&F Co ferrule on your 2i, and he was like, hey, well, you know my ferrule. Of course I do, Patrick.
Yeah, come on.
I'm one of them.
Come on.
So I think when you get that thing, sort of, it's one of those, if you know things. It's like, I don't know. I think really cool.
I think so as well. I think low on ice cold for me.
Okay, where are you slotting it then?
Below Melbourne? Or are these cooler than Melbourne?
I think they're cooler than Melbourne.
Are they cooler than visors? Are they more ice cold than visors? No. So in between the two.
Give me
that feels totally fair, doesn't it?
You like that?
I like that.
And there are, this isn't a BB&F Co ad. I think there's plenty of
It can be if you want it to be.
Yeah, BB&F Co, call us. But yeah, they're a great place to start if you
I
are
didn't
looking
even know
custom.
these were a thing till recently. I could get.
I'll tell you what. As a present, when's your birthday?
March.
Okay,
May.
next. As a little summer gift, I might get you some custom ferrules, and I'll redo your bag and make you proper vibes.
Yeah, we're talking. We could be a pair of vibesmen.
I'll do that.
We've been called a pair of worse.
Yeah.
Right, last but not least this week. Now, this is a fun one that could get the people talking. Is when people mark their golf balls with their big, massive initials. And I've found this on Reddit, where there was a little subreddit of people, the golf subreddit, people talking about this, where it completely ruins a ball. Now, I'm talking here, when you wander into the woods and there's a half decent nick, whatever it is, but it's got DP on it. Ruined. I can't use that.
It's a selfish move, isn't it?
And then for yourself, why is it that ungainly and it's ruining a nice pearlescent white ball?
If we're going away from the cool thing again, the functionality of that is that you're not going to make that mistake that some people do every now and then.
You can't.
Playing someone else's ball because it's so obvious. You're not going to walk to the wrong ball.
Can't do it.
Super clear. But if you need that level of assistance to not play the wrong ball,
get a grip.
Get a grip.
Come on, let's work on playing the right ball. Let's work on a different way of marking your ball.
Do you know where I see it a
subtle.
lot? I see it a lot on practice grounds where people have got their practice ball bag, and you might have a few players on the range at the same time, so the ball's getting in a similar place. So having the big initials or a big logo makes it very easy not to collect the wrong balls and be pinching another man's balls. And that's
fine for that. You don't...
Yeah, so it helps you not pinch another man's balls, and then what? But when you're taking that, there's no necessity for that on the golf course. It's not going to be hundreds of golf balls.
They're in your own ball bag.
They are in your own ball bag, and they're not going to be. There's not going to be hundreds of these balls flying around everywhere on the fairway. There's just going to be 2, 3, possibly 4 if you're playing in a 4-ball. So you should be able to manage that yourself.
But on a practice ground, I get it.
Yeah, so free for all. Then you should be able to manage that, for me, with just a subtle little... And if you're going to go initials, cool, go initials, but just...
Tiny.
Diddy.
Yeah, Diddy.
Be subtle about it. Would be my take on it. I don't think you're a bad person if you've got big initials.
No, good for you, quite frankly. But it does two things. It makes you look a little bit, as you said, a little bit daft, because you really need them that big to work out what your ball is. And then it when you eventually carve it into some woods and someone stumbles across it, it's then unusable for them.
My sort of more elderly friends who resort to the big text on the iPhone, that's not a dissimilar thing. And you can't help getting older and your eyesight getting poorer. I get that. But from a cool point of view, not for me.
Not great. Can I talk? Because the way I mark my balls is I like to put a black line through the brand. So if it's Titleist, I'll put a line through that on either side.
Where
right?
you've got that from someone.
Colin Morikawa.
Well, there you go.
I
So
really
that's
like
cool.
Colin Morikawa.
Imitation, just copy
Yeah, great.
What about individuality?
Cool. Yeah. So let me talk about for your balls, Brexit man. Let's talk about your golf balls, Joe.
Well, that didn't happen. I'm pleading the Reece Dunn card here of those were given to me.
Yeah.
So
you
I can't
play them,
cool.
though.
Yeah, well, they're really nice.
Talk the people through them.
Went to the TaylorMade factory, South Carolina, Liberty, South Carolina, had the ball plant tour, looked at how they were all made, saw the custom procedures, saw the tour department, met the coolest guy in the world called Kenny Reinhardt. Shout out Kenny if you're listening. I think he was the operations manager of the ball plant. And we played golf together, had a great day, had a really good time. Swapped emails, and Kenny said, I'm going to send you a couple of bits, and ding me through the tailor-made Fergs. So he got rid of the number and
it's
put
like raw,
Ferg
it's
on.
like Raws.
Like Raws, and a little Union Jack on the side, just to signify where I came from.
Correct.
Nothing political or...
No, I didn't say it was.
Well, you called them my Brexit balls.
You big Brexit balls.
There you go. So that's what I use. So I don't have to use an identification on mine.
Because I've got a big flag on mine.
I've got
And my name.
And my name,
Uncool.
yes.
Anyway, back to these initials. I think, they're not deeply uncool. I think they're just slap bang in the middle. Classic. This is a classic uncool
Classic
thing
uncool.
to do.
Yeah, you're not a problematic member of society if you're using those, but... Yeah, I thought Dan's having some issues with the board. What's fallen off there? Was that the ball? Sorry, having some logistical issues with the board and Dan's motor skills.
There we go.
Right, what's next, Daniel?
When I'm not by the microphone, you panic. And I enjoy. I might wander off.
Don't do that ever.
Right, don't do that ever. It's nice to feel wanted.
Sure.
Right. Sorry, we're doing a podcast. The Fujikura comp, like, if you've been listening for the last couple of weeks now, you know the drill, but someone might be new here and we don't want any pointers.
Can I see if I can remember what the prize is?
Good
Correct
idea.
me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, good idea.
The greatest prize in golf, we're going to call this. This is up there with any giveaway. In fact, it's better than... I can't think of a single giveaway that I think is any better than this.
Like when the Omaze draws, they give you a house.
Yeah, but that's not golf.
Oh.
In golf.
Oh, you said best giveaway ever.
In golf. So it's Ryder Cup related. So you're going to get, right, I don't know the full logistics of this. You get complimentary tickets to the Ryder Cup, including hospitality for the Saturday and Sunday. So where do the tickets extend to? They extend to Friday?
It's September 24th to 28th. So it's the full tournament.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then
you get
the Saturday
on the
Sunday,
weekend.
yeah, you get a bit.
Oh, so that's so cool. So you get amongst it on the early days.
You get warmed up.
And then you just go, right, should we have a luxury Saturday and Sunday and watching it in the suite?
They warm you up on the first few days and finish you off on the weekend with hospitality.
Yeah, then you also get 2 custom Fujikura Ventus Velo Car USA edition shafts.
Yeah, you've forgotten the $2,000 Visa gift card to help with travel expenses.
How could I forget the $2,000 Visa gift card that will help you with your travel expenses? And that will work on a sliding scale of value to you, because if you live 20 minutes from Bethpage, you've basically just made a couple of grand, haven't you?
Just pocket that.
Oh, you could just rent a supercar and just drive. So, but obviously, if you live further afield, then you're going to need that for your
I think
travel
regardless
expenses.
of where you live in the countries where you're allowed to enter, the $2,000 will get you there and back and give you somewhere to stay.
I'm out. That's what.
So the 2 shafts, the QI35 USA edition driver, and then 2 Fujikura merch prize packs. Joe, they're calling it Fujikura's Battle at Bethpage Sweepstakes. It runs from June the 2nd. Pardon me. It runs from June the 2nd, which is past now, to July 31st. So it's a big old window. This isn't just for Kickpoint listeners. We're just our friends at Fujikura. We want to let the people know about this. And you can enter via the link in the description. Or, if I'll say it out loud, fujikuragolf.com/battle-at-Bethpage. That sound good to you, Joe?
Genuinely, and I know we're being a little tongue-in-cheek, that is the best prize I've heard in golf. That is so cool.
I'll do some T's and C's. You can find the T's and C's on that link I just gave you.
Imagine being the friend who receives the call from his mate who's won that, his or her friend who won that, and say, look.
Yeah, it's open to men and women.
Fancy coming along, here's what we've got.
Yeah.
What a call to receive that
Mate,
is.
and as we said the last 2 episodes, we would love this to be a Kickpoint listener.
Would we ever?
So it opens, as I said, on June 2nd. It's already open. The date you need to know right now, if you haven't already entered, please go and enter. But it ends at just before midnight Pacific time on July the 31st, 2025. It's open to legal residents of the USA, Canada, and the United Kingdom, excluding the residents of Northern Ireland.
How dare you?
And to enter, go on that link. Please do it. I want one of them to win it. I want one of ours to win it. A pointy. Right, Nick Dougherty, you ready for this?
No.
Right, we're just going to cut straight into it.
God.
We met Nick at the Adidas Originals event at the Manor House in Castle Combe. I'm just going to let it happen. We'll chat afterward. Take it away, Nick. Well, actually, no.
Me.
Take it away, Joe, for a while. Welcome Nick Dougherty onto the Kickpoint podcast. Hello, Nick.
Hello.
We've sprung this on you.
Yeah.
and we sprung Joe next to you.
Yeah.
I'm quite looking forward to this.
Okay.
We're going to talk equipment, but do you want to talk, Joe? You've got some stories and a bit of history with Nick, I
I've been
believe.
dreading this.
Why?
You don't know anything that's happening here, Nick.
I don't know.
Um,
Is this an intervention?
It could be bordering on it. So this could turn out to be the greatest golf redemption story since the Masters with Rory this year. So I want to take you back to, I don't know the year.
Good start.
But here's what happened. We
Go on.
played together before.
Right.
We played in the Four Counties tournament at Hollingwell in Nottinghamshire. You won't remember.
I remember
this.
the 4 counties though, yeah.
Yeah. So for those not listening, it's like the fifth major, huge in junior golf. But if you won your county championship as a junior, you had to go out number one, was the protocol. And I won mine a little bit young, so I was like 14 or 15. And as you can see, Nick's a little bit older than me.
Ooh,
so Nick was
not the way you've been drinking, son.
It's a little bit older. So, and you won everything. So people forget how good you were. We'll get into that in a minute as well. So you were out number one for
Lancashire, yeah.
For Lancashire.
Yeah.
So I got on the tee, didn't know what was going on. Introduced Joe Ferguson from Shropshire and Herefordshire. Next on the tee, European, World Boys, president of Nick Dougherty. And I'm just looking around. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea. So I'm petrified now. And I've nobbled one down the middle. You larruped it down the first at Hollingwell to rapturous applause.
It already doesn't sound like me.
That's what I've done, right? And then obviously you thump, I think it's about 5 and 4 I thump, but, and this is where I'm going to start kissing up to you a little bit.
Go on.
You couldn't have been nicer. Lots of people in that scenario would think, oh, why am I babysitting this little moron around the course? You were so, almost to the point where you were giving me a playing lesson while you were thumping me. And I always remember just how nice you were. But this is only the beginning of the story. Is this the longest intro you've ever had, Fred?
It's a good one. No, I like it. It's going well.
So this is only the beginning. So I've just thought, what a brilliant guy. And then I was only young, so I idolised you, right?
Is this a what's in the bag interview, Joe, or just sort of a therapy session?
But then, so in COVID, we all turned a bit weird, right? We hadn't been out, maybe drinking a bit too much.
Just you.
A couple of beers in the evening. I sent you a very long, effusive message on Instagram. I did, yeah. Saying, I'm so pleased how well you're doing in what a wonderful guy you are. Blah, blah, blah. These are my memories. You were so nice to me. You got back to me. You don't even remember this. You just said,
I'm sorry, man.
Great to hear from you.
The restraining order's coming through.
You're doing so well. And I was like, he's even responded to me. This is fantastic. Then, subsequently, I saw you maybe 2 years ago, last year at the Belfry. It was a BMW day.
Right.
I was filming there. You were filming some tea time tips or something. And then I came in like a tornado, waffling this story at you. Didn't give you a chance to say anything. Then I panicked and ran off. So this has all been leading to this.
Right.
Is this the redemption, Joe?
Okay.
This could be, or I may have
Feels like it has been 3.5 minutes.
I may have made it, but yeah.
You've got history, what you
It's
said.
nice to see you too, Joe. And maybe it would have gone differently if you beat me 5 and 4. I don't know.
It was unlikely.
That would have been a special move, Joe, to be fair. Maybe you wouldn't be working for Golf Monthly, Joe. Maybe you'd be playing
I
still.
remember having a putt to go 1 up against all odds. I had about a 12-footer to go 1 up on the first. You
Did you?
Substandard wedge shot. I threaded in a high.
It does sound like a true story. Yeah.
No, it's not. Right. That's the nonsense.
What are we here to do, Joe? We're talking about equipment, aren't we, right?
I wanted to get into equipment history because we're an equipment
Yeah.
podcast. And I remember going back, even that day, I can still remember kind of what was in your bag. You just come back from the States, I think, because you were obviously big into the Faldo series. I think you'd been doing some training out there. I think you had some Adams prototype irons.
It might have been because that's what Nick was using at the time, right?
Yeah.
So it did work out a bit like that. I tended to. So when I was very little, like my babies are the Pingai 2 Brilliant Coppers, right? That's as every kid my generation, like you dreamt of having the Pingai 2 Brilliant Coppers, sticking it in the bucket of Coke to get the colouring down again to how you want it. But then I moved on to Callaway after that. So I remember Callaway, Ian Dryden, who was with Callaway, brought some up to the home internationals.
This is still as an amateur.
As an amateur, brought some up to the home internationals. I literally put them in the night before the home international started. And that was where my relationship with Callaway started. But getting the driver in was always tough. So I actually got my tour card using the R360 driver, TaylorMade.
Okay.
So I started TaylorMade driver at the time because they were still trying to work me into the full Callaway equipment when I turned pro.
So rewind just a little bit here. I just want to I'm going to get to the tour stuff in a moment. But as a junior, were you one of those hanging around the pro shops, annoying the pro, grabbing Scotty Camerons. Were you always?
I did love them, but I couldn't have one.
Were you a big equipment?
Yeah, I was, but so I was very lucky that Dad, very much working class background, but Dad gave me anything that I needed to for my profession. So I did have a biggest Big Bertha driver when they were 500 quid. Do you remember?
I do.
Like, it's amazing, isn't it, to go back that far?
500 quid. Sorry to
500 quid back then
what
as well.
year are we talking here?
Oh, it's a long. I mean, Oh, it's not 2000.
No, it wouldn't be.
No, it's well before that.
Mid-late 90s.
Yeah, something like that.
500 quid.
Yeah,
mid
it
late
was
90s.
when the biggest Big Bertha came out, and again, it was stuff that we weren't fit for it. It was off the rack. So yeah, it's off the rack.
Three shafts.
Yeah,
Regular flex.
7 degree though.
Flex 7.
7 degree,
You did.
which of course at the time was like, well, he must be able to play.
Drive
Yeah, so my dad got me. So he would never spoil me off course. But when it came to the golf, I had the best, whether it be equipment, the opportunity to work with great coaches. Well, Richard Bradbury, who was the head pro at Royal Birkdale. So when it came to equipment, I did. But at the same time, we didn't get the chance to just keep buying. Like that was a calculated, we're all in on this new biggest Big Bertha because it was like unheard of tech right at the time. And the head. Have you ever seen what one looks like now? It's a joke.
It's a very ironic name now, isn't it? Because it was.
Is it?
Oh, mate,
I've got no idea what these things are like.
In the day, people laugh. Look at the thing on the end of that stick.
It's been so long though since we felt that way about it. When you first saw it back then, it blew your head off. You go like, no way. It honestly, it looked like a waste paper basket. It was enormous, wasn't it? It was just wow, it's so big the head, and now you see it's a 3-wood.
So Dan always moans about naming of clubs. You'd have had a field day back in the day. So they just. It was quite a subtle progression. They went Big Bertha, Great Big Bertha, Biggest Big Bertha. That was the.
See, I don't mind that. It's like the PXG stuff. Now I like Secret Weapon. I like all this stuff. They've not given numbers. They've given it. Yeah, it's effing massive, mate. Have it.
Pretty much.
But it's just a 3-wood size now.
Yeah, it's not enormous now, but I mean,
it'd probably be mini driver size, wouldn't it?
Like 300.
But going back in there was the time when like the Fire Stick. I had a Fire Stick for a period of time. I had the
the Amazon. You dodgy stick. Get some football streaming.
Wilson Fire Stick.
The Wilson Fire Stick was the flashiest shaft.
Yeah.
I've ever seen. Like, red blending into it. It was like unheard of.
But the all singing, all dancing, like, oh my God, have you got one of those? It was the Cobra Ultra Mid, the John Daly white head that was bulletproof.
Yeah.
Because people's driver heads get shot a lot, you know.
This happens.
You got to be careful out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
The white one, do you remember?
I do remember it well.
And it sounded terrible, but like you thought, no, it was cool because it was white, the head on. It was like a cream color, tiny as well, the head. Like compared to now, it's like a tiny
sometimes I think
thing.
of like the video reviews we do now of equipment.
Yeah.
And I just think of like, what would happen if we got one of those in?
Yeah.
Not to do a retro one. We were trying to well, I'm very interested in the colorway with it. Ivory.
It was ivory. It's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to when you just turned pro because you were, for all intents and purposes, a prodigy. You were phenomenal through the ranks. Walker Cup. You played that great Walker Cup side.
Yeah.
So you turning pro. What's that like when you're as good as you were? People vying for your signature, because there must have been a lot of equipment coming. So you obviously went with Callaway.
I was always going to be Callaway, so I liked. I did like the TaylorMade driver much more than what Callaway had at the time. And obviously, it went through an early stage of that you were moving towards the ERC, which was like not a bit of me, like as if I couldn't hit far enough left on my own.
It wasn't.
So
it was in 3-wood, though. I remember briefly.
Hot.
Yeah, I remember it was a bit of you in 3-wood because you circumnavigated the kind of trampoline effect because that stopped at like 12 degree, didn't it? So you could get the hot 3-wood.
How does he know this?
I know.
Pervert,
Don't
Nick.
you worry
It's a
about
little bit concerning. I'm going to double lock the door tonight. But thanks, Joe. It's like,
thought it was going better. I thought it was going better.
After that gushing start, they said, well, I know what 3-wood you had for 2 weeks in 1990 or whatever.
Yeah. As soon as he starts referring to us as we shortly, then that's going to be the end of the road. No, I'm joking. The
What's happening again?
So of course at that time it was the time of the X14. So the X14 for me was one of the great irons that Callaway made, because as much as when you look at it now, it looks like a shovel. Like back then, it was still at the time, because the golf clubs weren't as sleek as they are now. The technology they've managed to make where they're more leaning towards game improvement, easier to use, but professional look, aren't they now? That's what they have mastered across manufacturers. Back then, it was less like that. And for me, it was a great blend of, I do want still help from it, but the X14, it was the easiest iron I'd ever hit at the time.
Was that X14 or because they did an X14 Pro series as well, didn't they?
I just moved to the Pro. There was Pro series, I think that was for me. But there was two things. One thing I remember about that, on the back of it, if you put your finger, you could slice your finger open on the back of an X14. It's not a great advert for them, but I doubt they sell many of them these days.
They're not too worried
on
about
the back of it,
marketing,
where the cavity was, if you grabbed it out the bag the wrong way, you could slice your finger open. I did it a couple of times.
Love that.
Not that important of a fact, but it is a fact nonetheless.
So the nuggets you tune in for, guys.
Yeah, but I did at one stage adopt. I can't remember what they called now. You know, the one that was literally the shovel, like a 1-iron,
Yes.
and you didn't even have to swing; it just went sort of 260 yards.
3.
Yeah, bottom of it, like it wasn't an iron, was it? Let's be honest, it was a fairway wood.
Gardening.
Yeah, it was. It's the easiest club you've ever hit, though. You just swing somewhere near the ball and gone, wasn't it?
It was up there. Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I think so when Callaway entered the market there, wedges were as a challenge at the start. It took a while for them to get that right. They obviously really contend highly now in that space. And the woods were a challenge. But then ironically for me, just thinking about my Callaway career, the bit that was always tough for them, I was quite good at always trying to put new equipment in. Like I would be open to trying it. And I probably, guys are more picky now because they have more information at their fingertips as well. You can quantify it way easier. It was a little bit more feel and mental, the choice then. Because your numbers weren't as great in terms of stats that we had access to and we were using. But I remember the C4 driver coming out, which was a massive flop for Callaway, but the best driver I ever used when I was with Callaway. Like for me, I hit it miles. Paul Lawrie was the same. And both of us, they were desperate for us to get out of it. But I was like, no, I love my C4. I hit it miles. And I used to love, it was funny, you look at what happened with what TaylorMade have done with Carbon I love that sound. Like, so when they moved that way with like Stealth, again, that noise for me is like a throwback.
That dull thud.
Yeah. And I love that about that Callaway driver. And then after that, it was, I never had a driver I liked as much with Callaway. That was like the C4. But it didn't work because most guys hit it shorter.
It's so interesting, isn't it? You get these little, and it's obviously audio for you. We were just chatting to Richard Mansell earlier. He was big visual. He was more, he couldn't get past if didn't like the look of something, he wasn't even going to get hit. So you're talking more audio and feel. That's really
I'd always have them drill it open for me as well. So you see it less now. The top line's usually so polished on the top of clubs. And obviously with what you can do with the sleeve, you can change it easily, right? But back then, it is what it is, right? So I had to get them to alter the loft so that they could drill open the face to square the top line off of me. So I hated it when it tipped in. So a shut looking club face, because I would always feel like I had to drive the handle to square the face up. I hated the idea of the loft looking left on me.
How are you doing that before adjustable sleeves though? You just drill
So they could change the top line for me. So it was a pain. But obviously, for a tour player, they're doing what these are the best, right? Regardless with who it is, TaylorMade, Callaway, Titleist, the guys are the best on tour, aren't they? They're incredible work people. So craftsmen, so they could manage to make it so the top line wouldn't sit as shut for me, which I don't think is an issue anymore with drivers. I never look down at one really and think, oh God, I don't like the way that sits. Whereas back then, it was a real no-no. I'd literally pick it up and not even hit it.
I remember being on the tour van with TaylorMade once, and I think it might have been Trotty back in the day working on the top line for DJ, I think. And he was literally, I can't remember if it was Sim or which one it was, but they were carving off the paint of the top line just to change the shape. It wasn't changing at all.
Make the line look different on the top.
The top line was different, so he would see it open, but nothing's physically changed whatsoever. It was either just scraping that off or putting a Sharpie pen.
There was definitely an era where players, it was common. Most guys just didn't like that looking left, sort of look to a club. I also think if a club looks left, it doesn't make you want to release it. And that was never a good thing for me. And obviously, because I was more of an open-faced player, which, in hindsight now, I'd have never let a coach when I was a young lad change my strong grip. And I used to have a club face looked up at the sky. But unfortunately, at a time when everyone said you couldn't play golf like that, how wrong that was, when every great player seems to look like that now, apart from Rory. And so I would go back to that now if I could, because it was just a much better way of moving my body and it was more stable through strike. But I ended up being a toe hand guy, a lot of release, having to let the toe release over to square up through strike. So if I had a head that looked left, I didn't want to release it, and I'm in a world of problems then. So I'd go hold, and then it would all be like split second timing at the bottom for me.
So what were you like as a tour player? Were you high maintenance? Were you one of those guys on the track? I want to try this, want to try that, give me this, change this?
Not really. No, I didn't. I really wasn't. It's like I was always very open. I was quite impressionable, but the guys, again, I had a great relationship. So the thing is, like, as much as I'm tailor-made, obviously now, and I have a great relationship with those guys on the truck, most of my playing career, I was obviously Callaway. So I know those guys well, and they were great. It's like, I never had a time where I was annoyed at someone for being like, dude, I'm in all over the map, but you getting a driver count. Like, they don't do that. You know, we were talking about it a little earlier on with guys I was outside with about Rory and obviously QI35 and QI10. Like, both are good drivers. And the fact is, like, guys just generally, pros especially, when they've had success and feel a certain emotional relationship to a club, it's not just the numbers. It's really hard to take that out of hands. Now, that, unfortunately, you're a product of your brilliance with what you've put in his hands in the first place. Like, that's because he felt so comfortable with that club.
Set the bar,
yeah. But it's time as well, because in the end, a pro hates the idea that being under the gun and feeling like I'm not quite as good with this driver, I'm not quite as committed with this driver as I am with the other one.
We've spoken about that a lot on the pod, of the kind of almost like building the scar tissue, whether it's good or bad shots. I know what this driver does when I neck it. I know what this driver does when I peg it down. I know what this driver does in this situation.
That's something I never appreciated until you sort of told me about that. As you said, under the gun, knowing what this club does. And
it's not that he won't have, so you got to put yourself in the perspective of where Rory did this. I think, where were we? It was Bay Hill, wasn't it? Where he said, like, bear in mind, he's not even thinking about Bay Hill. He's already thinking about Augusta National. And what he does know is that I'm a bloody brilliant driver, and I can't afford to go to Augusta National I need that bit to just be a given. I'm going to drive it amazing. And then I polish all the end. We saw the great moves, the TP5, it really helped him. Counterintuitive, but really helped him. And like, I think there's just a bit of panic because there's such a pressure and burden that was on Rory that he's just thought, you know what, I'm going to take the stress out of it because I know I'm amazing with this. And I'll do that later. And the great thing about a company like TaylorMade, I'd like to think they'd all do this, but I know TaylorMade do this, is that they're more interested in the athlete being the best that they can be. Because in the end, seeing him win the career Grand Slam as a TaylorMade athlete is what matters.
Same thing. We just had a chat with
Matson
earlier. Again, he's in the TSI 3, 2 generations old. He said that was one of the things. He went back to Titleist, his fitter. He works with Liam McDougall. I just want you in the best product. It looks good if you win with Titleist product. Great.
That's how it should be, right? That's how it always should be. I've got a lot of respect and time for Rory and TaylorMade both going this year. At some point, there must have been a conversation just saying, listen, this is what I'm going with, regardless. And it's worked, isn't it?
It has to be that way. It has to be. And of course, you know, all this money goes into the marketing, the next generation. And the technology probably is going to be better from when he finds exactly what he needs and he's in the right headspace to it, which he's arguably in a very good headspace these days. But like, that's great, isn't it? Because in the end, they got to where they are with these players by having that mentality of like, we're not just going to force something because it fits with the marketing. Like, you know, the driver's great. But when you're ready, mate, because this is peak, and there's more goes into it to what it looks like, what the numbers are saying. It's the emotional connection, and even more so when it's someone like Rory McIlroy. Imagine how difficult that's been the last few months. Everyone around and trying to make everything exactly as it needs to be to give him the best possible chance to survive in a pressure situation that we can't even comprehend. I can't imagine what it's like once a year turning up somewhere where it's like, this is it. Like, everyone's saying you're going to do it, including Jack Nicklaus. And like, oh my God, how did he do it? And then with the reality of that, without going too much off topic here, the reality of what those four, I can't believe he fell over his own feet, but then got up and did what he did. Like, I can't fathom the mental strength it took for Rory to do that. I'm in awe.
Some people are saying there's fallibilities, but you spin it completely the other way to recover from the situations that occurred during that day.
It's the opposite of that.
He hit shots that I'd be annoyed at, and then followed up with shots that I could only dream of hitting. And for me, that's what makes him a box office watch, is because he did that.
Can I stick on this for a minute? Because you were there. I've never watched coverage that long and that intensity in my entire life. Can I just ask what it was like being out there and seeing that? Because it was emotional for me, sat in Solihull in my living room. What was it like being there for that specific event and to see the Grand Slam?
It felt really significant. So I'll try and give the short version. I was lucky enough for my first ever major that I anchored for Sky was the Masters 2019. Good one to do, right? Oh, yeah. And I thought, when I did it, I was very nervous because it's Tiger Woods. You know the significance. And also, we never thought he'd win that level again. And you think, well, you know what? At the end of it, I was really proud of myself because I was terrified, obviously, because it's a new arena for me. I thought, you know what? That's great. I've been in at the deep end. It can't get any more pressurized than that. So whatever I do now in my career, it'll always be easier than that. This was way more pressurized. Like, this just felt like the most important thing, and which is amazing because I'm a huge Tiger fan.
The viewing figures reflect that.
Yeah, they do.
So much,
yeah.
Because I think we relate to Rory McIlroy, whereas you don't relate to Tiger Woods, because he just does incredible things that we're not used to happening and we can't do. Whereas Rory hits things and does things that we think, God, that's rubbish. Like, I can't remember saying that often about Tiger, right? Like, God, that's awful. Like that wedge shot on the 70th, saying that was awful, horrific. What's he doing? You idiot. That's what I'm thinking when I'm there. I'm like, oh my God, Rory, you've blown it. And then, and he goes into the playoff and then hits 2 shots that I think, how on earth have you got the strength to do that? Like, I'm complete awe of the man. And I think we can relate very much to Rory McIlroy. And I think that's what separates him. But it just felt like the history that he was playing for came with such a massive burden of pressure. That was getting harder every single year. And the fact that the most anyone had ever taken was 3 attempts. And now all of a sudden you've got a guy that does it after all of those goes. Mind blowing. Yeah, I just felt like it made it a story for the ages. And in a different way to Tiger, because he's not Tiger, but in a different way to Tiger, it was every bit as important and significant as anything he did in his career.
Getting back to
You
equipment.
do equipment again. Sorry, I just wanted to go down the Rory train for a minute.
Slight tangent, but to final question on equipment.
Yeah.
You're obviously in the broadcasting arena now, so you need to know lots of different stuff about the players, stats, personal things. How across the equipment side of things do you stay? Do you talk to caddies about that stuff? Do you talk to tour bands? Do you talk to players? Is it something you think about from a broadcasting point of view?
Yes, mixture. So I always think it's important in our job. So for instance, it doesn't matter whether it's equipment or coaches, like aim point. I don't use aim point, for instance, but I went and got taught in it because I feel it's important as a broadcaster. You got to know your subject, right? Even if you don't like it, doesn't mean I can be ignorant.
But he doesn't like it, does he?
No, and that's fine. Like, listen, everyone's a bit different. It's hard to pick at his career. But from where I come from, I try and make my strength, not that I can lean on the fact I coach Tiger Woods and like what he's done across a body of work that spans so many decades of being highly decorated, like the best of the best across 40, 50, 60 years of you know, high-end golf and being a great player as well in his time. Like, I was a good player, but what I am is I am someone who's like, when it comes to knowledge, I engulf it. Like, I love it and I want to learn all the time. So I will make sure I'm taking in all the information so that I can be more of an expert in my field of knowing when someone's doing it, why they're doing it, what it does for them, you know, rather than being sort of, well, I won this. And I think it's easy. Sometimes major champions can be guilty of this. Like, well, when I won this, I did, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I wish I had a major championship, but when you've done a bit less, like I have, you tend to be a bit more, I did some good things, but I'm open to being better because I know I could have been better. So like, what's he doing? Why is he doing that? What's he doing? Why isn't he doing that? And I ask that question to myself all the time. And it's the same with equipment. So I try to make sure I'm open and I'm engaged with what's going on in trends with equipment, what someone's changed to, why they've done it. So for instance, Rory's move to the golf ball I thought was really interesting because it's the opposite for me for what it said he should have done, because he's a high spin player moving to an even higher spin golf ball. But his mentality was it forced him to hit shots that he needed to elevate his game. That makes perfect sense. But you have to understand all that. There's no point just saying, oh, he's using the new TP5 or he's using the TP5 golf ball. It's like, well, why? Your job as a commentator and in my job is to be able to express to the viewer why he might do that. And so you have to make sure you're getting that information that's from the right people. So including all the guys on the trucks as well. So I'm always picking their brains on that information.
That's brilliant.
Was that cathartic for you, Joe? Did you get that out of your system now? Because we've got to go have some dinner now.
Do you think this could develop into anything between us, Nick? Or do you think you're just going to leave it now?
I think it could do. I'll get in touch with you. I'll maybe do it through someone else.
Yeah.
But I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
That's on
not
camera.
Today, when we've gone home.
But soon, yeah.
Let's hope you're not sat next to each other at dinner.
That's fine.
I think
That's
for
not been
Nick.
decided yet, so let's go find out. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nick.
Cheers,
Nick.
Thanks, pal.
Well, how was that for you?
Tough.
That's now out in the world.
Tough for the first 3.5 minutes, as you very kindly pointed out as we were going along, for how long I've been talking at him for the intro. Took it like a champ, didn't he? Makes it almost worse. I'd have almost preferred him to just
Actually tell you to do one, yeah.
and tell me to go. It made it so much worse.
He's the
so
nicest
nice.
man. He's too nice. He put up with that. He really did.
But not only is he nice, he's knowledgeable. He's got credibility within the game where he can back everything up. Did you get that grumble? Did you?
Wow.
Yeah. He's got credibility within the game because he's played to an extremely high level. So he talks with authority and you can believe it because he's been there and done it. He's got the respect of the players.
You're doing it again.
I've never heard anyone say a bad word against him. He's just great.
He's
great.
He's great. And thank you to Adidas for giving us the opportunity to attend that event and to speak to Nick as well.
And again, sorry, Nick.
Sorry, Nick. I'm not sure we were in the Adidas garms, were we? No, we weren't. He might have been in some.
We were ready for dinner, weren't we?
We were ready for dinner, so I wouldn't have been in the nice golf clothes the next day. But gosh, that original stuff is properly mint.
Tip top.
It's properly mint. I saw it out in Germany in February, and it wasn't on anybody. It was all on racks. Shelves, wardrobe. It was hung up,
merchandise.
To see it on human beings on a sunny day in Castle Combe. Anyway, next week, Joe.
Yep,
it's our first anniversary. Now, what's the first anniversary? Actually, is it like paper or something?
It is paper.
It was your first gift. Anyway, the gift we have is actually for you, the listener and the viewer. You should be giving us a gift because we're married to you. No, how would it work?
No, I think you're like anniversaries are mutual gifts.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Send in your gifts to my home address, which is in the description below.
But our gift to you is the best interview we've done so far, which is the Bulldog. It's Jimmy Bullard. But
this is so subjective. You think it's the best interview we've ever done. Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, do you know what? I haven't listened to it back yet, so I don't know. It felt good. But some people might love the Blandy interview. Don't tell people what the best interview we've done is. How dare you?
How dare you? I'm trying to tee the blooming thing up.
Oh, no, it's great, though. It is really good.
For those who don't know, might be living in the US or elsewhere, Jimmy Bullard is an ex-professional Premier League footballer, cap for England, who you've probably seen on Golf YouTube, the Golf Life channel with Tubes and Ange.
Great player as well. Good, scratch
proper
plus
player,
one handicapper.
And using his terminology here, is horny for it.
He's
the golf equipment side of things. He is such a geek.
He's one of you pointers. He loves it. He loves.
Isn't a pointer a breed of dog?
It is, yeah. But I see what you're doing there. Just listen. It's really good. Yeah. It's really fun. And also, we're going to have a little glance back through the ages, aren't we?
It's a clip show. We're going to do a clip show next week. Where
did you think we'd get to the stage where we could create a clip show?
No, I didn't think we'd make a year.
Good point.
And we've not missed a Thursday or a Friday. We used to come out on Thursdays, remember? And we've not missed a Thursday or a Friday now, as of next week, for one whole year. And we should be proud of that, I think.
We should. You should, because you do all the hard work on the back end.
And so does our great videography
which
team.
Which we've now established is how you figure out the gender.
Yes, the back end. That's how you should.
Well, I don't think so, no, but you do.
Beside the point. So next week should be a belter. Please join us for that. But for now, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with us. We'll see you next week, won't we?
Bye all.
Bye-bye.